The following program is brought to you by Zencash. You did the work. Zencash helps you get paid.
All right. So, space in the startup industry. What kind of funding is there, and what is the process?
So if you're a early stage technology company and you're looking for equity funding, there's what they call rounds of funding that you can receive. Typically what we see is early stage companies, the first round of funding they ever get will be a friend and family round, where they will go out to people that they know, members of their family, people in their network that have money, and they'll raise money from those folks. It's called a friend and family round. Next, we typically see companies go out and raise angel funding. And especially right now, we're seeing a lot of super angels that are very active in the Bay Area. These are sophisticated investors who are making a lot of bets in the technology space. You know, people like Ron Conway and David McClure and Mike Maples that are very active right now in this space. They're doing angel funding. And then beyond friend and family rounds and angel funding, there's venture rounds. And they typically refer to venture rounds based on the series that it is. So Series A would be your first venture round. A Series B would be your second. A Series C would be your third.
How does the company prepare for funding to go for a venture?
So, and Gabe should definitely jump in on this, but when you go out to raise funds from professional investors, you need to have all of your T's crossed and all of your I's dotted. You need to have your legal documents taken care of, which Gabe can talk about, but you also need to really understand what your business is, what your potential is for your business in terms of your revenue opportunity, in terms of your market share and your market space, and you need to have a story about what the trajectory will be for your business.
Okay, we're going to buy your company for $2 million. Great, I'm going to be rich. Then the due diligence comes from the people who are going to plop that money down, and they do two things. They do your financial due diligence, checking on all your books to make sure what you're saying about your company is true. And so you got to have a good set of books, what you're saying your company's making and what it's worth and is true and accurate. And so somebody like David's company needs to be there to have either done that for you all along, which is best, or bring you up to speed so that you can present those books to the company that's acquiring you so they can send it to their really expensive accountants to review and ask you a lot of questions about. And then you got to do the same thing with your legal documents. So they want to see a corporate book for the corporation that includes your founder stock purchase agreements, all of those IP agreements that I was talking about, where every service provider you've hired to do any sort of creative work, development, design, business planning, has signed a document assigning the intellectual property rights and waiving their rights to the intellectual property. So that book of agreements, you know, and your insurance, they want to see that you have your insurance plans which go into that corporate book. So you get your ducks in a row, both from an accounting and legal standpoint, and then you can present a nice, clean package when they do their due diligence.
And were there any books or anything that you recommended in terms of preparing for a venture round?
No, you.
Yeah, so, you know, a book that's become a bit of a Bible in the Bay Area is Guy Kawasaki's Art of Start. And Guy Kawasaki was the founder of Garage.com. He's a very colorful character that's become somewhat of an icon in the Bay Area. And he wrote a book called The Art of Start, which is a great primer on how do you get ready to raise angel and venture money, and what are the steps you need to put in place, and how do you prepare a presentation, and what should be in your presentation, and what are the questions you need to think about, and the things that you need to have answered, and what are the due diligence items that you need to get ready. So if you are going down that road, it's an easy read. It's called Guy Kawasaki's The Art of Start. So you can also YouTube him. And there's some colorful presentations that he's done.
Okay. Also, we'll talk about term sheets real quick. Why should I care about a term sheet?
So this is another question that Gabe probably has more insight into than I do. But
Unlikely.
when you go out and you raise a venture round, you will meet with angel investors or venture capitalists. And as part of the negotiation process, at some point, they will provide you with a term sheet. And the term sheet outlines all of the deal points for raising that venture round of capital. And there's typically 9 or 10 different items that we tell our entrepreneurs and our companies to really concentrate on. Gabe can give a little bit more color on it, but we do have on our website, we have a blog that's dedicated to things to think about for your term sheet and things to consider.
No, just go to his blog.
It's at earlygrowthfinancialservices.com.
Yeah, no,
okay.
yep, right.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
Right. No, I mean, term sheet, typically they're non-binding except for the confidentiality provisions, and sometimes they have what's called a no-shop provision. So while this term sheet, during its 60-day term, sometimes also called a letter of intent, while it's pending and you guys are doing your negotiation for the finalized documents and people are doing that due diligence, you can't shop your company around to others for investment. So the confidentiality provision and the no shop are typically all that's binding. And then the other stuff is important nonetheless because it sets the tone for the negotiation, just like the proposal I was talking about for the master services agreement. And if the money in particular, you want to make sure that the money terms are set forth, and there's going to be oftentimes a holdback. So I'd say that's something to look for. Somebody's going to buy you for $2 million, but there's an earn-out or a holdback, and you have to work for. You're the talent. They want to buy you to a certain extent a lot of times, and so you have to work for the acquirer for 3 years. That earn-out and holdback is a really important provision. Anyway, yeah, check out the blog. It's good.
What we see a lot in early stage raises is that instead of doing an equity round where you're negotiating what the value of your company is and selling off a piece of your company, for early stage rounds, a lot of what we're seeing is convertible debt. And what convertible debt does is it says, look, we're going to give you a certain amount of money. We're going to give you $500,000 or we're going to give you $1 million. And it's going to be debt. So it will have typical debt terms in that it will have a maturity date. So this money is owed back to us in a year or 2 years. And it will have an interest rate associated with it. But it also has a provision in it that says that if you raise an equity round at a later date, the debt that you have been given will convert into that equity round at some type of a discount. And that's very, very common. Does that make sense? It's kind of complicated. But basically, it looks like debt, but if you raise money later on, the folks that hold the debt can participate in the equity round at a discount. And it's typically somewhere between 15 to 30% is a discount.
And people prefer that for a couple reasons. One, it's not giving away an actual piece of the company yet. And two, it's cheaper to put those together from a legal standpoint.
If you're an early stage entrepreneur, you should definitely try to get venture debt because it allows you runway to really increase the valuation of your company. So you're starting out, you need some seed capital. Your company's not really worth much. It's just an idea. Maybe it's an idea and you and 4 buddies. But if they give you $1 million, you can do a heck of a lot with that $1 million in terms of creating value so that when you go out and raise an equity round, your company's going to be worth much more after you've spent that $1 million than it was before you spent it.
What happens if you lose the $1 million? It's just gone from the...
It's just gone.
It's just gone.
It's gone.
It's still venture debt and convertible
Yeah.
debt is still risk.
You need
it's
to be
risk
careful
capital.
how you lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you lose it in a houseboat for yourself, you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Well, would
But
you
that-
owe
but
anything to the venture capitalists, or that's just
That's why you have to be
that's why they're
careful.
granting it to you, basically?
You have to lose that money in normal operations in the course of business, but it's risk capital.
Yeah.
So everything in this arena is risk capital. Everyone understands the rules.
I think the difference between what's happening now, and it's really palpable for us in the Bay Area, I think more than the rest of the country, to a huge extent, is has a little more solid footing than what would happen before, because people are offering actual services and that make money. At least that seems to be the idea, but we are starting to trend towards the next best application that doesn't make money but is going to be a photo thing on your phone that sells for $1 billion. And so, yeah, there's always things are going really good right now, it seems, for us in the Bay Area and developers and designers, and it will probably even off at some point. But I don't think we're heading towards a financial crisis like we saw in 2008 anytime real soon.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The thing that concerns me is, I'll just give you one example, which we kind of looked at this week, which is commercial real estate. So 100 Townsend just got leased. It was $65 a square foot. So it's Soma to a tech company. That's the same price you can get at one Embarcadero for a water view, $65 a square foot. So to me, that says to me on the tech side that it's really unsustainable. I think I do think
Somebody
it's
made a stupid choice.
someone made a stupid choice, but I mean, I think you kind of see what I'm getting at is we are putting a lot of pressure here in the area on our infrastructure, and I'm just interested to see how that will play out on a local basis. Yes.
So what is your point with that? That the startup or whomever got charged more just because it was a startup?
There's.
They were willing to pay more.
They were willing to pay more. I don't think that was very smart for them to pay $65 a square foot when they could be sitting in one Embarcadero with with a water view. I mean, to me, that just sounds kind of crazy.
Indication of money to throw.
I will say that Google and Facebook and Apple, they all have shuttles that come in and pick everybody up, and everybody wants to be in the city. They want to be working in the city, and that's where the talent is. So the price is going to go up in real estate, and that is, I think the waterfront property is probably going to be even higher. So,
Well, maybe. I'm just
yeah.
saying that's putting. To me, it's putting a lot of pressure on our infrastructure.
Yeah.
So
Let's ask the guy who knows. No.
I don't know about that, but I would definitely say we're in a bubble. So I would say that it is a isolated bubble, and it's only in certain sectors, and that there are probably 5 or 6 sectors where it exists. But I would say that we are absolutely, unquestionably in a bubble in those sectors. And I think there's a lot of things feeding it, but I think that the bubble is mobility, gaming, social media, cloud-based companies, and software as a service. And I would also say that the bubble is particularly evident with early stage companies, because we have a huge number of active angel investors, and that number is increasing with Zynga's IPO and with Facebook's IPO. And so there is a lot of money going to early stage companies, and the valuations for those companies are not realistic, and most of those companies are not going to survive.
I also think I think that also some of this is relating to people's background and education and not going to the right resources of law, of accounting, not having the right, basically like the right fundamentals of business. And they're getting money, but they don't know what to do with it or don't plan it out strategically. So it's going to fail. So it's important that they know all of this information.
So what you're saying, Andy,
Yeah.
is they should give all that money to their
Yeah,
lawyers.
Yeah.
they
and
should.
accountants.
Well, and I think they should plan their business for the long term to be able to succeed. And there's a lot of different ideas out there, but don't move forward too much unless it's starting to grow a lot.
Yeah, so I mean, Instagram's so tough. So
Users, right?
yeah,
Information.
They're looking at users. I think Facebook was also looking at a hole in their application suite that they needed to fill, and they thought they needed to fill quickly. But I think Instagram, it's very difficult to take that acquisition and derive a lot of information from it because it was such a complete one-off system. So we actually, the first investor in Instagram is a man named Steve Anderson and we do the work for about 80% of his companies. And for some unknown, godforsaken reason, we did not have Instagram as a client, which I think I will go to my death regretting. But
I think the people are, a lot of the power, he's right about Instagram because it was Facebook, but people are looking for information on potential buyers. I guess advertising on the net is still powerful, although not as much. And it's just, Google has got massive amounts of information on all of us. And so that's become a valuable asset in and of itself. And tweets, worlds and worlds of tweets with information in them. It's just somewhat fascinating. But
There's also a bit of a publicity stunt is how I view it. Like the Facebook seems to be, afraid of losing their value. So they buy something to try to make themselves look like they're going to be the future. And
that's a good point.
yeah,